Yo, 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 what is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Golden State Warrior Fan Room Podcast, presented by yours truly, myself, Jeremy. You can follow me on X at R2R30111. And you can follow my guy Justin here at the Package JG. And yeah, man, today we'll be recapping the Warriors versus the Rockets series as well as previewing the Warriors versus Minnesota series. But before we dive into any of that, how you doing on this fine Tuesday, my guy?
Doing pretty good, man. We got out of there alive.
Yeah, man.
It was a little, a little tight, both with the Jimmy injury early in the series, and then the fact that they, lost game 5 and 6, forcing the game 7. So
Hmm.
it was a tough one. Shouldn't have gone that to that point, but it did. So it is what it is. But yeah, feeling good that they got past it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, man. Same here, bro. It was crazy. But since we already here, man, let's recap the Warriors versus the Rockets, man. It was, man, for it to go 7 games, I didn't have it going that long. I mean, I originally had the Warriors in six. That was my guess on how things would go. But I about to say, like, the X factor to me that pushed it to game seven was Fred Van Vliet, man. Like this dude, I think it started game four, I wanna say. Yeah, four,
Hmm.
5, and 6. He was just making some crazy shots, bro.
Hmm.
He just shifted into another gear, like kind of like rewind the clock in a sense, like you go back to the NBA finals, he gave us some problems back then. So he kind of like, went back to those days. But um, just talk to me, man. Like, what kind of stood out to you the most? Like, out of all the 7 games, if you had to, just pick one particular thing that just stood out the most.
Definitely the Warriors' lack of shooting on the
Hmm.
open shots that they generated. I think the advantages that we thought we had going into the series definitely presented themselves throughout the series, right? Like they really have no answer for Steph in the totality, right? So they gotta
Yeah,
double him at half court. They gotta do all of these things to make sure that he can't get clean looks. And that resulted in open threes for Pods, Moody. We did say going into the series they were going to put their bigs on Pods and Moody. We saw a lot of
hmm,
Shingun and Steven Adams matched up on those guys. They didn't necessarily make them pay for it, in
hmm,
abundance. And I think that was one of the main reasons why the series went as long as it did. In addition to Fred Van Vliet getting, just having the heater of his life. I don't care if he shoot 20 wide open threes, right? Like he's probably not going to shoot that well, you know, again, right? So that's something that definitely we didn't really take into account could happen because it was kind of fake. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. So that was really the main thing that stood out, and we saw in Game 7 they found a guy who can actually hit those shots, or a guy stepped up and Buddy who hit those open threes, and from there it was the Warriors were really never in a threatening position or in a threatened position at all in that game.
yeah. Nah, man, I feel it like since we're on the Houston side of things, man. I always said this, like if Shangoon's going to be this team leading scorer every game, I'm 100% fine with that. I ain't losing no sleep over that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just if it was Jalen Green, I feel like it would have been more effective. Because you would have felt it more just the way he can score in bunches. Three different levels, shooting it from 3-point range, midi, getting to the rim, whatever the case may be. But Shangoon, he's just your typical like back you down center, just strictly twos. He's not shooting the ball from 3-point range or things of that nature. But them like Jalen Green is struggling. That whole series was the downfall of this team. Like he scored single digits in 6 of the 7 games that he played. He only scored double digits in one game, and that was the game that Jimmy Butler got injured. I think he had like 36 or something like that. He went crazy that game, but ever since that game, man, he just been struggling for sure. And I have to give our guys credit for containing him and just getting in his head. This is his first playoff experience, and it showed for sure. Just his confidence wasn't as high, and him and Draymond had words to say to one another, and who's to say that that could have affected or whatnot. But nonetheless, Jalen Green struggling was a huge L for the Rockets, as well as like man, I gotta give Steven Adams a lot of credit, bro. Like we pulled out the hacker shack method against him. Getting to the free throw line or whatever, but he was still effective, man. Like the brother was getting every offensive rebound. He was protecting the rim, setting mean screens. it was like, dang, they actually finna get away with this, man, because they had this tall lineup of Jabari Smith Jr., Shangoon, and Adams, bro. It's like three bigs out there, and they made it work to a certain extent. I mean, obviously in Game Seven it did, but for the most part of this series, that lineup has been working for sure. And yeah, man, like when you look at it from Dylan Brooks, the antics and stuff he was trying to do, man, just trying to start stuff, bro. It was crazy, but yeah, man. Shout out to Houston, man. This is a young team. I mean, I feel like they'll be here again. This is their first rodeo. I wouldn't panic and trade guys. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about Jalen Green packaging him off or whatever, but you got to be kind of careful when you do things like that too, man. It's their first rodeo. I wouldn't just look too much into it. But for the Warriors side of things, man, Game 7, man. I will say this, man. My confidence was pretty high that we was going to win that game in the first half because we was up 12 points and Buddy Hill had 22 points and Steph Curry only had 3 points. So if a Houston Rockets fan, that's just a recipe for disaster. You know that Steph is going to close this thing out for us. And I gotta give Buddy Hill a lot of credit, man. Like the past two games prior to Game 7, he wasn't as good, really. And for him to the most important game of the season, for him to come out like that and perform the way he did, it just speaks to the level of his professionalism as well as just staying ready, man. Because we needed all those threes that he hit, man. Every single last one of them. And yeah, they were saying that they had like a team meeting or something, like Draymond, was speaking to those guys or whatever. And yeah, Dre was huge too, man. I got a stat right here. Like during that whole game, everybody he guarded, they shot opposing 3 of 17 from the field, man. To be more exact, he held Shangoon to 2 of 8 from the field. So that just speaks to his level of intelligence on the defensive side of things, man. And it sucks when it's all said and done, man. This dude is going to probably have just one Defense Player of the Year trophy. As an elite defender as he is, man. It's crazy, man. But I always like I show love to Steph and Jimmy, man. Man, like Steph was the leader in points, rebounds, and assists in this series. He scored 168 points, 41 rebounds, 40 assists, just leading the way. As well as like, game 7, defensively, he was locking in as well. And Jimmy Butler, man, he said it best. He's Robin. He's that guy that can, calm things down and go get you a bucket when you need it. So nonetheless, man, it was a great series. Like you said, I ain't wanted to go 7 games. It was, due to a lot of different things, these guys up in age, and they could use the rest or whatever. But it worked out for the good, man. But yeah, man, we're moving on to Minnesota, bro. Like that was a hard fought series for sure, though. Yeah, so moving on to Minnesota, like the side of things, man. Like, did you take away anything when they played the Lakers in the first round? Like anything stood out to you against those guys, or?
I mean, obviously, Luca not being able to defend in space, not being willing to
Mhm.
defend in space. The Lakers' lack of size in the form of a legitimate center that they can rely upon to protect the rim and grab rebounds and stuff like that. Those two things stood out a ton. The Timberwolves not really having that potent of an offense also kind of stood out to me because the Lakers don't have rim protectors and they don't have a lot of foot speed.
Mhm.
But at least in the half court, they didn't really like punish them for that. So, Minnesota definitely, I mean, they won in 5 games, but it wasn't like a dominant offensive performance. Like even in the last game, Rudy Gobert had like 27 and 24 or something like that. And everybody else was
Yeah,
pretty,
man, it was
pretty
crazy.
average.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
All the other players is pretty average. Jaden McDaniels was frying Luca on
Yeah,
those
he was.
closeouts. But
He was
other than
cooking.
that, yeah, like I wasn't really wowed by the Timberwolves. It was more so like, okay, everybody thought, or most people thought that the Lakers were just going to be this juggernaut because they got LeBron and Luca and Reeves. But there's just so many holes on their roster outside of those three, and even within those three, like Luca don't want to play defense. LeBron is older, so just a lot of the dirty work stuff that he used to be able to hang his hat on, rebounding in the trenches and playing against bigger players and things like that, and imposing his will physically. He can't do it as often as he used to because he's older.
Right.
Um, and Austin Reeves struggles against size and athleticism on the perimeter. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I mean, a lot of people are putting the Timberwolves on this pedestal right now. They are a good team, and it's a great player. I do think we're not giving enough credit to just how not that good the Lakers were. So that was
That
my
is
view.
true. Yeah, I agree, man. Like when they made that trade to get Luca, I had already said this is more so like a all season move before it even gets here. Like
Yeah.
them getting him, I feel like it made them better, but they still got to build. You know, they still miss some pieces out there to go around him and LeBron. So yeah, you're right. I don't think the Lakers was just that good. I mean, they was the third seed in the lower the Western Conference, but it is what it is. But no, man, to the T Wood side of things, man, this team they end the season out rolling. They end the season out 17-4. That's pretty good. They started clicking at the right moment. I got to give Julius Randle a lot of credit, man. This series, I pretty much watched every game, and I seen growth from him, man. Maturity. Like he wasn't just chucking up shots like he normally would. He was just, letting the offense come, naturally, not just forcing it or whatever. Just being a veteran out there, making the right passes, being solid on the defensive end, just overall being a solid player in this series. And yeah, man, like Nas Reed, Dante, Jaden, like all those guys were just, stars in their role on the team. Obviously Ant Man, he does what he do. And Rudy Gobert, he had one of the best games
Yeah.
of his. But yeah, man, the head coach was doing a good job. But for us though, bro, like while we talking about our Warriors going against the T Wolves, bro, like we just can't let the others get off. Cause Jaden McDaniels had like 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, where he scored like 30 points. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what I seen. And then obviously we all know what a guy like Nas Reed does for them off the bench, just providing that offense and that offense versatility, whatever the case may be. So we can kind of like control the others from popping off or whatever. I like our chances in this series because when I look at a guy like Anthony Edwards, bro, I think he's pretty much solidified himself as one of those dudes in the league who you pretty much just can't stop for real. Like you can make it hard on him, but he's still going to get his. So you can't really just worry about that. Just try to focus on the other things. And if the Warriors can really just lock in on that, man, I like our chances. I'd say like in six or something like that. I'd say six for sure, though.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, like you said, Ant is his own thing, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't think he's quite at the level of just being this inevitable force. Like, you just can't slow him down at all. But he is still a superstar caliber player. Whereas
Hmm.
these other guys are pretty matchup dependent. I think, Jaden McDaniels, like you said, scored 30 multiple times, or at least 25 multiple times in the last series. They
Hmm.
put Luka Doncic on him, who can't guard in space and don't want to guard in space. So it's easy blow by every time, and he's laying it up. And the Lakers don't have rim protection. So once he gets to the rim, he even said it himself. He's like, I'm the tallest player on the court in this series. Which he was like 6'9". So he
Yeah.
one of the tallest players on the court. So there's really nobody there to stop him at the rim. Whereas even though we don't have like he might be the tallest player on the court in this series too, but
Hmm.
I mean when Gobert's off the court. But we got guys like Draymond and Jimmy and just smart defensive players in a defensive system that's just way more potent, covers way more ground than the Lakers does. And I think that's something that could shell shock the Timberwolves offense a little bit because they are kind of reliant on guys being a little bit slower. Um,
Hmm.
Whereas with the Warriors, our defense is extremely mobile. Guys get in rotation pretty fast. We are a smaller team, but we typically stay in front of guys. It's rare that we just get like blown by without any rotation there and help and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see how those other guys for Minnesota play. Julius Randle historically doesn't really play that well against us. Draymond usually kind of takes him out of the game. Nas Reed usually kills us, but he hasn't this season too much. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens, who we put on who, and how those matchups kind of shake out.
Yeah. So it was like, then we like 3-1 them this past season or something like that.
Yeah, we lost the very first game we played against them, and then won the next three. But all four of those games were before the trade,
Yeah,
so
Jimmy. So yeah.
we
Yeah, that'll
can't.
be interesting. I mean, it's some history there. We all know what Jimmy Butler did, in Minnesota. It
It's
didn't
so
really
many
end well.
layers of
So
history. It's so many layers of history. The Jimmy stuff with Minnesota, Draymond and choking out Gobert. Yeah. You got Ant Man and Steph play Team USA together. They got that kind of like brotherly rivalry thing going.
hmm yeah,
Mike Conley has seen the Warriors in the playoffs before with the
plenty of
Grizzlies.
times, plenty of times.
Dante was on the Warriors a couple seasons
Yeah,
ago.
true
So
that.
yeah, it's a lot of history there.
There's definitely a lot of history. Did you see that clip where Anthony Edwards said he wants to face us in the playoffs? Did you see that?
Yep, I did
Yeah,
see that too. Draymond and Anthony Edwards got the trash talk thing going.
yeah.
And Steve Kerr, Anthony Edwards was the
Oh
number
yeah,
one
that
pick
yeah,
in the year. Where
yeah,
yeah, the number one
yeah,
pick in the year where we got the number two pick, and Steve Kerr told him if we had number one pick, we wouldn't take you.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Man, it's a lot of history here, man. The Team
hmm
USA coach Steve Kerr, and what you just alluded to when you said that about drafting him. But
hmm I think
yeah,
he was
man,
lying.
like yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, man. So you think that we can play Rudy Gobert off the floor? Like,
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, the Rudy in the Timberwolves defense is a little bit more designed to stop slower teams that got big wings like LeBron and Luca and things like that. Whereas the Warriors offense is so dependent on movement and space and pace
yeah,
that it's a little bit gonna be harder for them, because they don't have a lot of guys like Houston, where it's like Amen Thompson and Fred Van Vliet and Dylan
Mhm.
Brooks, guys who are used to like navigating a bunch of screens and running around and all this type of stuff. I don't think Julius Randle and Nas Reed and Rudy Gobert want to chase anybody running around the screen. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play defensively, what type of lineups they play. But I can definitely see a a universe where Rudy Gobert is kind of like he's compromised on both ends due to the style of play.
Yeah, I agree, man. Because I'm gonna be honest, but I've been watching Rudy Gobert a long time, and he don't like stepping up on screens. He loves being in drop coverage, and that's going to be
Mhm.
a problem if you're a T Wolves fan. Because bro, if Draymond
Steph
and
will shoot his
Steph,
face off. Yeah.
if Steph and Draymond in the two-man game, Draymond one of the best string setters ever. And
hmm
he's nailing the dude that's guarding Steph. That's just going to cause problems because Rudy is not going to step up. And if he do step up, Steph going to blow right past him. So it's like it's not a win-win situation. So I think that they do play him off the court and they just end up going small by putting Rondo and Nas Reed at the five. Whatever the case may be. But
hmm
yeah, man. Also like with the Timberwolves, bro, like when you look at it from the perspective of like, okay, Anthony Edwards did lead the league in 3-point shooting, right?
hmm
What you think the best lineup for us to like start lineup to throw out there? Like I said, I alluded to like regardless of who we throw on Ant, like I don't think that should just be a vocal point of trying to just stop him. Really, like I think he
Right.
solidified himself as like one of those dudes who's still going to get his no matter what you do. So we can't really focus our time too much on that. Although I will say this, we can try to make it hard on him. So in saying that, like, what you think is the best starting lineup for us to start the series off against the T Wolves?
Um, Steph, Jimmy, and Dre's is are locked in for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a good question. I mean, it's tough because you want the shooting that Buddy provides to
Yeah, man.
to create some of that chaos on the offensive end for Minnesota. But I
Hmm.
just don't know if he can hang in this series or in this and against the starters in particular
Yeah.
defensively. Whereas with Houston, their offense is so not that great that you can hide him or you can even put him on a guy like Jalen Green because he gonna be under 10 points for 6 out of 7 games. So
Right.
it's gonna be tough. My gut is telling me to start the regular starters, just to start the beginning of the series, the guys that had that streak where they hadn't lost as starters and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So, Steph, Pods, Moses, Jimmy, Draymond, you can kind of go with that and see what happens.
I like that
Um,
lineup.
yeah, just because you give Moses a new chance and give Pods a new chance to hit some shots early in the series, and you can always yank them if they're not making shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think Moses is probably best equipped on our team to use his length and his size to try to bother Anthony Edwards in single coverage for the most part,
Hmm.
and then everybody else can kind of stay home and close out on those other guys. So
Yeah. Yeah. So also like the other matchup, so we'll put Stephon Conley. You would say.
yeah, yeah, probably I will either put Steph on Conley or put Steph on Jaden McDaniels because
Yeah.
Jaden is a guy that's like catch and shoot or attack a closeout, and Steph is pretty good against those type of guys.
Yeah.
Same way they put him on Jabari Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. He was in game seven. Steph did a good job of guarding that. But
hmm
yeah, I'd probably do Stephon Conley, uh, BP on Jaden, Jimmy on Rounder, and Dre on Rudy. So yeah, I will say this: if Jaden McDaniel start getting off on BP though, I don't know. Like maybe we bring in Kaminga or something to match the length or whatever the case may be. But you seen how poised Draymond Green was in Game Seven. Like he was just calm, cool, calm, and collected, just at peace. Wasn't arguing with the refs or things like that. But do you think that that's sustainable? Like, can he keep that, up, like moving forward during the playoffs? Like, obviously, we need him to,
Right.
get rowdy at times, but just like the way he did in Game Seven, like more calm with it though. Like, okay, I'm not
Hmm.
gonna do this. Like, do you think he can keep that up as the playoffs go along? Or
He could.
yeah,
It's not a matter of can he. It's a matter of like will he. I mean, I think Jimmy helps a lot
yeah,
to
that is
calm him
true.
down and keep him focused. Because Steph isn't necessarily the rah rah like, hey, get your head in the game type of dude.
Yeah,
And neither really is Steve. But Jimmy will tell you like we need you, yada yada yada. So
right.
um, I hope so. That's really I mean the flagrance is getting up there, the text is getting up there.
Yeah,
So I think
man.
he's a little bit more aware of that stuff now. He's gonna push the envelope, but hopefully he doesn't just go over the rails.
Yeah, the reason I say that, man, because it ain't no secret, like the history between him and Rudy, bro. Like, I
Right.
don't know. I just hope that it don't lead to anything like fighting or, different things like that. Like, you never know, man. We seen a man choke the dude out about a few years ago, man. It was crazy. But yeah, man. But one last question before we get out of here, man. Like, I asked you this last series, I'm gonna ask you this series. Do you think that Jonathan Kaminga is getting like going to get any run? Like, can he be like that X factor, for the Warriors, or are you just completely over him? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say I'm over him. Um, this is a series I do think he can kind of play a little bit more because, like I said, this is like a slower footed team. So, if he can get in the seams on back cuts and stuff like that or attack closeouts with speed and burst, then I think he can have a positive impact. Am I like expecting it? No. I don't think Steve will trust him that much for one. For two, he hasn't been playing for a little while now. So it's hard to
Yeah,
kind of
he's
just step
rusty.
into it's hard to step into like a playoff environment when you haven't been playing consistently and just make an immediate impact. Like the rhythm is likely not going to be there. The timing on the actions, on the plays and defensive rotation, stuff like that is likely not going to be there. And it's not necessarily his fault.
Yeah,
It's just kind of like he just hasn't been playing, right? It's just hard to pick up the game that fast. So
it is.
it would be ideal if he could because he's one of those bigger athletic bodies that can match up with some of the players on Minnesota, like a Nas Reed off the bench or
Yes.
Jaden McDaniel, stuff like that. But just with all those other factors, it's just hard to see him doing that. But I would love to see it though.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, that was kind of what I was going to allude to. Like, I don't want to see Looney or a post guarding Nas Reed, bro. Like, I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
just a recipe for disaster.
for
So
sure.
when I look at guys off the bench, I look at a guy like Kaminga, you know, I feel like he can match up pretty well with Nas, just bring it, that physicality, using his athleticism to his, you know, ability to stop him or whatever the case may be. But yeah, man, I got hopes for the dude, bro. Like, did you see that move that he did in Game Seven? It was a nice move. He got to the rim, but he blew the layup, and it just goes to show you like the rust. He just hasn't been playing in this series. So
Hmm.
yeah, but nonetheless, man, we'll see how this series goes. So who you got? I mean, obviously you got the Warriors, but how many games? Like.
Uh, I'm gonna go Warriors in six. I don't
Yeah,
want to see two 7 game series back to back, so I don't want to
back to back anyway.
predict it. I'm gonna say Warriors in six. Still one of the first two. Win every home game.
Mm,
Yeah, and that's it.
yeah, same here, man. I got the Warriors in six. You said the best. We definitely shouldn't want to go to 7 games. Obviously, it's easier said than done. I will say this though: Minnesota definitely had the advantage in terms of like rest. I mean, they haven't played in the whole week if we've been honest here. So
Yeah,
for
it could
us,
be it could be an advantage and a disadvantage depending on how you look at it.
yeah, 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 that is true. Because I have seen teams, have basically like a week off, and they struggled against teams that coming straight out of the playoff series, like Game Sevens
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. So you're right about that. I have seen that. But yeah, man, I got the Warriors in six. I don't want to see these guys go to 7 games again. Not back to back anyway, man. Because whoever we do play, like whether it be Denver or OKC, we're gonna need some rest against those guys.
Mm.
So yeah, man, it's gonna be a good series nonetheless. For sure, gonna be entertaining. Yeah, I can see a lot of things transpiring. It's gonna be an entertaining series for sure. The playoffs has not disappointed yet. There's been a lot of good series out there, and yeah, just to see the Warriors. I would say this though, bro. Like even if we do come up short in the second round, I can't complain. Like the fact that we made it this far, it
Hmm.
speaks wonders. Because I didn't even have us really. I probably had us making to the play-in. Before we made the Jimmy Butler trade, I had us as like a play-in team at best. I'd say no more than the six seed. But hey, we made it this far, so I consider this season a win in my books. Regardless of what happens, it is what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
man. Make sure you guys follow my guy Justin on X at the Package JG, as well as myself at R2R30111. And make sure you guys tune to the game tonight. And we'll be back, recap the next series when we advance. We're speaking it in existence. So yeah, man, we're going to the Western Conference Finals. You heard it here first. And yeah, man, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and make sure you guys tune to the Metro tonight. And with that being said, we out. Peace.